Hi, Naomi. Welcome. Thank you for
Hi,
joining me.
hello, Victoria. Thank you for having me here.
Well, we were just saying, like, we've just connected on Instagram, haven't we? And you know, that social media does bring us together, which is lovely. So I'm really looking forward to finding out more about. And this is what I love about the interviews. It's very hard necessarily to connect through the grid, but I just feel that once we've spoken and really sort of like, I think it's just so much easier, isn't it, to support one another as well. I want you to see someone talking.
Absolutely. And I love the grid for meeting people you may never have got in touch with before.
Absolutely. No, it is.
Like-minded people. So
Yeah.
lovely to meet you finally.
Yeah, lovely to meet you. So could you tell us a little bit about your business? So what is it that you do?
I make nature-inspired, wearing some of it, silver jewellery. So this is some of my Christmas range. But yeah, I've been doing it for almost a year now as a business. So I think I might have to stop saying I'm a new business fairly soon. But it's mostly from silver and gold, and I use this material called precious metal clay as opposed to silversmithing, so that you can get this incredible detail, and it allows you to do things that silversmithing doesn't. So yeah, that's what I do in Devon. I do it from my small workshop in Devon.
Amazing. So tell us about, so you've been doing that for a year. What were you doing before you became this business owner?
Wow, I spent 20 years in nature conservation, working in charities, and then the civil service for 14 years. So quite different. I've always made things, but yeah, I love nature, and so I really am passionate about trying to do something good for nature. But the civil service drained a lot of that out of me. Great people there, but yeah, I got into middle management and I just discovered I just wasn't talking about nature. And as much as I loved working with people, I wanted to get back to my roots and my love of nature and making things, actually. So,
and I love that, how you've managed to continue that into jewelry and combine that. And I completely know, like, I think we go through in careers, don't we work up the ladder and then you end up not doing the thing that you wanted to do, and it's all movement and people, and it's like, ooh.
Yeah, it was crazy. I became a project manager, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, project management and a team leader, and all those skills have really set me up well for this. Yeah, never actually mentioning the word nature from day to day, or it just left me uninspired.
Yeah, no, definitely. So that leads us on to like the why behind what you do. So obviously that's bringing in the nature, but can you talk a little bit more around, like, why is that so important to you?
Yeah, sure. So like I've already mentioned that I love nature. Ever since I was little, I've been completely awestruck by it. And I'm not one of these people that wants to name everything. I think that takes some of the joy out of it. And it's just amazing to discover it. And I love the small bits, the big landscapes, but the small details. And I have had a history of not always being that happy. And nature is a salve to my soul, I suppose. I love being out there. It makes me feel at peace. It really recharges me. It inspires me. And so I wanted to capture all of that in a way that was meaningful to me and share it with other people. And I talk about a lot of taking little bits of nature with you. So when I'm in an urban setting or somewhere like that, it's like a talisman that I can touch and remind myself of being outside, and that there's more to the world than running to catch up with yourself and feeling on days like this when it's a bit gloomy, a bit like, oh.
Yeah. So has that been like a childhood, like where did it come from, this real love of nature?
That's a really good question. I grew up in a small village in the middle of Oxfordshire. And there wasn't much else to do. And my parents have always loved being outside. My dad used to work on a farm, but he didn't in later years. So they always took us out walking. And I just remember, I'm quite introverted, and I just remember love being outside. It just gave me a sense of peace and adventure that I couldn't get anywhere else. It was either that or sit and read books, and I love books too, but there's only so long you can read. And I have this memory of being on holiday in the New Forest and walking with my family, but I was out in front and coming around a corner and seeing these 3 stags. One of them was really pale, almost albino. And it was just one of those moments where I knew that is what I needed to do. I loved it before that, but that was just amazing. It was just a moment. And my family caught a glimpse of them, but there was just that little moment all to myself with these 3 stags. It was just incredible. So yeah, since about 5, it's been a real passion.
Yeah,
Absolute passion.
I love that, and I love that you've been able to bring that into your work. So could you tell us a little bit about what's your, and I know there is no average day at all, but what is it like? What would you do in your business on a typical day?
Yeah, and you're right, actually. The fact that there's no average day is absolutely wonderful. I love not having a routine. I hate routine and I hate order. I'm a bit chaotic, but I think that's lent itself to being more creative, so I can follow some of my whims. So I don't have to get up at 6 in the morning, which is just amazing. But that's also good for my mental health. I found that actually being able to dictate my day is so much better. So at this time of year, sleeping in a bit, and then doing lots of making. So I spend as much time as possible in my little studio making up lots of things. I have to go for walks because I use natural elements to make each of my pieces. So hard.
That's part of your job. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, I made sure I wove that in, definitely. But I mean, there's still admin, so I try to do a little bit of admin every day to space it out, and social media does take up a lot of my time, I have to confess. But I'm learning.
How long would you spend on social media in a day?
Oh, it's quite scary. I try to line up all my posts on a Monday so that I don't have to do that, but I'm not so good at that. So about an hour, maybe 2 hours. But part of that is connecting with other people, like your good self.
Yeah.
Looking at other people's work. It's quite inspiring, actually, to do that, and meeting customers, because of the way I started my business. Just as COVID was coming in, it started to take off. I couldn't do fairs and things like that, so social media is the way to meet your customers. So there is a good side to it, definitely, but it's just.
Are you quite obviously this is going off on a little tangent, but are you quite structured with your time, or is there a bit of just scrolling, or do you approach social media with a bit of a plan of what you want to do that day? Like,
yeah, I have a plan. Don't always stick to the plan, but that's good, because actually sometimes things come up, don't they, that might inspire you, or an opportunity comes up that you hadn't seen. But I do like to map out, it's my project manager side coming out, map out my time a little bit, and to give me a bit of structure and a bit of an idea of what to say, because I think with social media you can run out of steam a little bit. So for me, having something to go back to remind myself of what my theme is for that month, or what photos I need to take, or what interaction I want to do, and which platform I want to be on, just helps me get through it, I suppose.
It's so overwhelming now, isn't it? There's so many places that you can be, and I think as a creative, like, we do want to be in flow and creating, and like I can just picture you going on a walk and finding all the beautiful leaves and making things. But I think we also do, unfortunately, need that structure. Otherwise, we're like off in the clouds and not making any money. So it's good that you've got that combination of skills, so you can sort of do the plan, but also not hold it too rigidly, because again, that can affect us, with our mental health as well, can't it, if you feel stuck? So.
Absolutely. And what I learned in the civil service is, and there's nothing wrong with the civil service way of doing things, it just wasn't necessarily for me, is it can be too rigid sometimes. So for me, it's nice to have a plan, and I've learned a lot about planning through that process, and I don't regret that. But the beauty of being self-employed is you can be a little bit more free with that plan. You don't have to revisit every day, and you don't have to have metrics that you have to meet. It's good to have some ideas and goals, but oh my gosh, no metrics, thank God. Do you have a plan?
Do I have a plan? Sometimes I love planning. I love doing spider graphs and plans, but I'm also a bit of a free spirit, so I think I love the planning. I'm not very good at sticking to the plan, but I think that, I just go with the flow, and then when I need a bit, pull down from the clouds, and I can see what I was meant to be doing.
But that's what a plan is for, right? It's keep you a bit grounded. As a creative, you have to follow your instincts sometimes. I talk a lot.
No, it's good. No, it would be a pretty boring chat if we did it.
And there's two things there. I was just about to say, actually, but I'm going to digress slightly. What I've realised about being a creative is you don't really get to see people. So I managed a team of 20, and now I don't. And I really not hated seeing, but needed a bit of space for myself. And now I see nobody. So as soon as I get the chance to talk to people, I'm like rabbiting away. It's great. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great, isn't it? And I agree, because obviously we're in lockdown at the minute, but my kids are at school and my husband's at work. So life is normal, which is me on my own, creating or on the computer. So
yes. Definitely.
It can get lonely. It definitely can. So, and it's lovely. And whilst we're on Zoom and it would have been nice to do this over a coffee, I still feel your energy. You know, I can still feel connected with you and feel like when we do meet that we've met before. So, yeah.
Likewise, it's great. And actually, the other thing I'm learning to use Zoom is I'm not just a creative. I'm training to be a counsellor.
Are you?
At the same time, and I'm learning how important this connection is in a creative community, as well as using mediums like this through COVID. That connection is really important for humans, isn't it? And particularly, I think, for creatives who could get lost in themselves a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why a lot of people are struggling right now, because it's hard, isn't it? So what's on your creative Christmas wish list? Have you got something on your wish list?
Oh my God, where do I start? I think the most important thing for me this year is, and I've always done this, but it's been I'm more committed now than ever, is to buy handmade and shop as locally as possible. Not always local, because there are some amazing handmade artists out there and creators. And so this year I'm challenging myself to buy just about everything handmade, which is really tough for people like my brother, but we'll see. So that's the thing. And I've just written a few down, and I really struggled with this. There are so many brilliant people out there, but I thought places like Courthouse Makers in Axminster, they're not creatives, but they're a shop where you can go and see so much beautiful work. I love that, going to places like that support us as creatives. And I'm really this just came through the post just before I came online. I've just found this company who do vegan handmade chocolate. I'm just going to open it because I haven't had a look yet.
Yeah.
And they make other non-vegan chocolates. I'm vegan, but for my whole family, I've bought them. Oh my God, look at these. Aren't they amazing?
Amazing. And they're all on Instagram. So yeah, and that's how you're finding. So is that how you're sourcing your shopping list then? Through Instagram?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, shopping list, a bit of Facebook as well, and through people like yourself, seeing what other people recommend and who they follow.
Yeah, no, lovely. So you recommend maybe the Courthouse Makers to go and follow, would you say? Is there anyone else?
I'd recommend these guys as well, just from looking at their chocolates.
Yeah,
they're called Misco chocolates, Misco vegan chocolates. There you go, look, there's a little...
so we can tag them, Misco.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say one more, because I discovered them this morning and I am completely lusting now after their stuff. Called Laced Wing Designs, and they do these amazing embroidery motivational motifs, and normally I'm not into that, but I love they were just stunning. Saw them this morning and instantly went down onto my wish list.
Amazing. Thank you. Right, so I will go and check them out and let them know they've had a good mention in this video. So obviously you may have seen the news with good old Rishi saying that creatives aren't viable at the moment and whatever. So why do you think creatives are important in our world?
Yeah, I mean, where do I start? So why creatives? I've got my little list here. I mean, beauty and imagination is really important, particularly at this time. We've seen hundreds of people turning, not just people who are creatives, as so-called in a job title, but people turning to creativity because it sustains you. It gives you something beyond yourself, gives you hope. It inspires you. It's good to expand your mind. It allows you to connect with yourself and other people. I mean, I don't know if I have to say more than that, because creativity is important to everybody's well-being. But I think having creatives is also really important to inspire people and enable them to connect with something beyond themselves, like I say, to be able to buy something that's unique and made with love, that isn't pushed by a big company. I mean, there's nothing wrong with big companies. We all use them. But creatives give you something you can't get anywhere else. It's just something really beautiful about that, I think. And it allows you as an individual to express yourself. And I don't think if we all shopped in a big supermarket for our clothes, for example, we could do that in quite the same way. So, yeah, I think creatives are really just essential there for everybody's well-being.
Yeah, and like we just said earlier about connection, what came to me when you were speaking was like, it's a connection, isn't it? So if someone buys one of your jewelry, there is a connection there because you have put your love into that and then they're wearing it, whereas you don't get that from a machine. And then the other vision that came up is like caveman paintings, like right from the beginning of time, like we're creative, aren't we? Like it's our expression, and to move to a world where there is none of that, I mean, it's bonkers.
Oh, it'd be so black and white and so grey, and that to me is like I have a bit of a thing for dystopian fantasy, and there's one called Shades of Grey written by a guy called Jasper Fforde, and I loved it. He's a slightly comedic writer, but it was a wonderful take on, if you take the colour out of life, if you take the imagination away from people and you allocate people into little boxes, so you'll have the red people or the grey people or the blue people, you're restricting them to a very miserable, limited, robotic existence, and that's not what life's about.
Yeah, exactly. No, thank you for that. So one of the questions I wanted to ask was what's been your lowest point in business, and you know, have there been any? There may not have been, but I think it's important for us to acknowledge that it's not easy all the time. And I think sometimes online it's pushed that set this up and you'll be a millionaire and it's all just easy and do this, and it's just not. That's not how it is. So have you got, you know, do you mind sharing like one of your low points or something, you know, that's a bit tough?
Yeah, so I did it in a way that a lot of people don't do it. I got the opportunity to leave work, the civil service, on voluntary redundancy, and at that point I'd been not very well, and I just thought this has got to change. So I just leapt out and straight into starting my own business, which has been financially pretty tough. Live by myself, I am it. There's no backup. So I did get to a point in the summer where paying my mortgage was pretty touch and go, and it still is. But what I would say is, although that was a low point, it has given me more drive to succeed, and I'm still happier. Regardless of if I lose my house or not, I just feel much happier. So it was a low point. COVID didn't help, but to be realistic, like you say, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It takes a lot of hard work and motivation and dedication to get it to work, and time. People think it's instant. Time. It takes time.
It takes time, and I think that's really important. I feel that on Instagram, the danger is that you look at everyone with their feeds and you think, oh, they're really successful and they're doing this, and what's wrong with me? And I had one of like a group of clients last night. I did like a call with them, and all of us would admit that we don't feel like we're enough, like we don't feel confident and we're not enough, and what's, you know, and judge our work very harshly. And I think it's really important that, like, sharing that, how important it is to buy from creatives and small businesses, because like like you say, your mortgage depends on it, whereas popping and buying something cheap from Tesco, like, it doesn't affect someone's life indirectly, but every order you make with a business such as yourself changes lives.
Yeah I totally agree, and I'm going to preempt you because you talked about we were going to talk about my high point.
Yes, let's move on to that.
And I think that's been having my first sale to a stranger was just awesome. I did a little happy dance, and you see these people on Instagram talking about customers doing makers doing happy dances and things. But it's true, that first time that somebody actually wants to buy something you've made, it's an awesome feeling every time somebody buys something from me, because I'm still in that phase of building my business. I'm delighted and it just makes me so happy. And I can really relate to what you were saying just now, because I still feel like an imposter. I don't have any formal training. I still feel like everybody's better than me and that I'm not good enough. And there's only so many hours in the day to do everything. But yeah, it's all worth it when somebody buys something.
It so is, and I say, you know, like, I don't think you can experience that feeling in a job. I don't think it exists there, and I would encourage anyone to just have a go, because that first sale is that stays with you forever, doesn't it?
Yes, Absolutely. I mean, I've been making jewellery for 10 years, so it took me a long time to get to the point of having the confidence to try doing that. And I think it took me too long. I'd encourage people to maybe build their confidence a bit sooner and get out there and do it.
Yeah, good. Well, so the next question is, what advice would you give to your best friend if they were about to start a business? So if you sat down with a coffee, like what would you want them to know that you wish you'd known if they were starting a business?
Oh gosh, I'd start off by saying follow your dream and just do it. Just to take that phrase from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And don't be daunted by it. I wish I'd had the confidence to do it sooner, but have a plan. Not necessarily, a business plan or something hard and fast, but really do think about what it is you want to do and surround yourself with people and support so that you can keep learning. So I came, like I said, from the civil service. One of the best things I did was enroll in a business course because it's a very different environment. I didn't know how to do things, and just to keep learning as well, and be open to new ideas and learning from others and meeting people like yourself and being inspired by other people and taking small steps. I think I tried to bite off too much to begin with because I left work so suddenly. I mean, I left and then I started. I didn't really build up to it. That's one way of doing it, and that's been great. But it has some, it's been quite hard. But I think taking small steps and not pushing yourself too hard. Each and every day you can make progress by doing something.
There's a great photo I saw on Facebook, and it's got two ladders, and one, like the rungs are like really far apart, and one's got lots of little rungs. And there was on the big ladder, like he's trying to like get up the ladder, and then the little one, he's like almost at the top. And I thought that's so true. So it feels like little steps, but if you do it too far, like you might not even be able to get to the second step. So
yeah, you overstretch yourself. And I had a moment during the start of COVID where I just wondered, oh my God, what have I done? And I realized it's because I was trying to do everything too quickly and too much instead of really enjoying it as well. It's enjoying the process.
Yeah, and that's really good advice as well, isn't it, to enjoy it? Because why do it otherwise? There's a lot of pressure on our shoulders when we run our own business, and if we're not enjoying it, but it's so easy to lose sight of that. So it's good just to keep reminding yourself and go, right, why am I doing it, and how can I bring the joy back in? Because you're going to grow faster that way as well, aren't you? If it's
definitely, and it's my first proper Christmas, and I'm discovering that's really good advice. Waking up each morning going, I've got so much to do, and going, actually, but this is a different stress to what I used to have. This is for me. This is all about me, and this is amazing, and I do love it. But I just have to remind myself of that some mornings, and it's okay.
So what orders are picking up? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's great.
Amazing.
It is amazing. Yeah, I'm really pleased. Big smile. But taking time, and I think that's the other advice. Actually, we said that earlier, didn't we? I'd give to somebody. It takes time. I was very realistic about that because I found some support early on that it wouldn't be instant. So I was ready for the work that would have to go into it. So. Yeah,
and I think that's part of the message I want to distill. Is that because I think that's why a lot of people give up. They're like, why haven't I had my success in the first 2 months? I must be a failure. I'm not cut out. I'm going to give up. Well, no, it takes time and lots of it. And the way I see it is, time's passing anyway. So we may as well be working on our own dream, on our own business, than going, it's passing anyway. Like, why not be doing what you want to do?
I'm completely with you. And when I started, I gave myself 3 years. And I might have to find part-time work in between, but that's fine. I think that's much more realistic to know that this first year definitely, and obviously COVID has changed everything anyway, but I think it's good to start with some sense of realism because then you don't pressure yourself either. Yeah.
And the pressure affects our creativity, and I think that, again, that sends us into darker places, doesn't it? Because, and a lot of that pressure is self-generating. It comes from us.
We're our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
I think when you're creative, you have much more of an imagination to catastrophize and imagine the worst anyway. So, and I guess that's the other thing I try to do is give myself some time off to just play, because we forget that our creativity comes from play. It doesn't necessarily come from stress or pushing yourself too hard. You have to have some time just to play, which is where my walking comes in, but also just making really random stuff that I would never sell, just to push myself a little bit and play.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. So just to wrap up the interview, what's your favourite quote?
Wow. So I had to really think about this. I've got a little journal I keep, and I went back to my journal because journaling is important for you. And I don't know who wrote this. It's a proverb, but it's one I go back to a lot to remind myself just to slow down. And it's, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. And
I love that.
I think it's a beautiful reminder. And because I love nature so much, it's right. Nature never really hurries along.
Ties in with everything that you were about. Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah.
So that's
nothing. I love that. Thank you. I've not heard of that, but yeah, no, I love that sentiment. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share? So can you tell us where we can find you and come and buy your lovely things?
Definitely come and find me. So I'm on Instagram. I forgot to say my name is Naomi Brookes Designs. So that's my Instagram handle and Facebook. I have a website of the same name, so naomibrooksdesigns.co.uk. Easy to find me, really, if you remembered that. But yeah, I'd love to connect with other people. I am about the only maker I know, so it's really great to have met people like you guys on Instagram and others, and I'd love to meet some more.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I've really loved chatting to you, and I'm sure lots of people will come over and say hi and come and look at your beautiful jewellery. So thanks, Naomi. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you, Victoria. It's been fun. Nice to have met you finally in person.
Definitely. I know. We definitely have to get a coffee when lockdown's over.
Coffee and cake, definitely.